Okay, we're recording.
Continue.
This is Strong Speed record chat number 51. We have Wayne Adams. Hello, Wayne.
Hello.
How you doing?
Warm, very hot. It's 33 degrees today, and I think we've both just taken a cold shower to try and cool ourselves down, right?
Exactly. It is the 20th of July, and I swear it's the hottest day in the world ever. So where are you?
I am in my kind of home studio in my basement kind of my house. I have a studio up in East London where I do all of my work, but obviously during lockdown, I had to lock down for the first kind of 3 months or 2 months or whatever it was. And then I've been able to work all the way through it. But kind of what I decided to do was try and mix as much from home. So I wasn't traveling across town and stuff like that, just to avoid, you know, unnecessary contact with people and stuff like that. Because, you know, once I've done the tracking or whatever with bands, I can often just do a bit of mixing at home. So it's kind of nice. I've managed to set up like a kind of copy of my computer that I have at my studio at home, so I can just kind of transfer files between it. So that is why there is a pile of synthesizers behind me, because it's where I've written a lot of my music over the last kind of year and a half, being here in the basement.
We'll definitely get to it. Like, so you're in London, essentially.
I am in London. Yeah. Sorry, that's I just sorry, I forgot about that part. Yes, in the basement in London.
Here's a question, and because I moved out of London in about 2007, 2008 ish. I can't remember. I've never recorded either with you or at your studio. I have a question about your studio.
Yeah,
and it's something I've noticed of all the studios I've used, almost anywhere, is they don't say on the outside what they are.
Yeah. I don't have a. Everyone's always walking up and down the street going, "Where are you?" Have you got a doorbell? No, I don't have a doorbell.
Dropout didn't have a. Wasn't no. They ended up having a little rusty sign that you couldn't really read. It was like, oh.
Yeah. I think it's a sign of a good studio, because you don't need to advertise it, right? Because you're so busy, you don't, you know.
I always assume it's because you don't want people breaking in and nicking all the shit.
Well, there's a bit of that, definitely. You know, don't really want to advertise it's kind of there. But also, like, I'm in like a middle of this crazy block, and I think, you know, there's about 4 or 5 studios all kind of spaced around in this block up in East London, and then there's like art studios, and then there's some people living there and stuff like that. And I think I didn't want to advertise I was there, because obviously if someone's getting pissed off with the noise, they can't find me in that block. They might go to a different studio that might have a name on it. Because obviously there's someone making noise and they want the noise to stop. The first place they're going to go is to the recording studio that records all the heavy bands.
Yeah, but as it is, they're going to go to the person who's painting quietly.
Exactly, that's it. And will you stop really painting aggressively against that wall, making it sound like a drum kit?
That blast beat painting is doing my head in.
Yeah, absolutely driving me crackers. Yeah.
So how long has Bear Bites Horse been going?
Oh God. So I started, right. So there's a weird connection here actually that I don't know if you know exists. You might have known or not, but that we built a weird venue in Bermondsey in a massive warehouse, maybe about 9 years ago.
I know.
And basically the reason why I was kind of part of that, and we ran a load of gigs with all of the different promoters like Rachel Silver Rocket, Rainey from Ripley's Joint, and to be honest, I've forgotten the names of a lot of those there was about 10 different promoters, and we built this tiny little space in the middle of this ginormous warehouse, me and a couple of mates. And that's where I had my very first recording studio, kind of in that warehouse. And that's how I got hold of that huge space. They were running kind of a series of kind of gigs but it wasn't gigs. So they were running a series of events, and they kind of said to me like, oh, you know, you do music, do you want to put gigs on in this massive hall? And I was like, well, unless I book Motorhead, it's going to be bloody terrible. So I'll build a tiny little 100 cap box in the middle of this ginormous space to kind of, you know, make the point on like tiny gigs kind of cooler than massive gigs. And I remember Hey Colossus playing one, and it was absolutely mad.
We did play. It was awesome. Yeah, Tim Cedar was drumming, so it was about 2012/13-ish.
Yeah, 8 years ago, something like that. So that was kind of it. So I kind of at that point had got like a rehearsal room that I just started recording bands in, to kind of see if it was something that I liked doing. I kind of worked in, I've done music on and off since I was like 16, kind of, but then when I went to university, I did a lot of like breakcore and gabba and stuff like that with a group of people like DJ Scotch Egg and Shitmat and these kind of guys that were kind of part of, I was very much part of the Wrong Music kind of collective that was in Brighton early 2000s. And so did that. And so I was doing a lot of rave and kind of techno stuff and, kind of did like a John Peel session through that, went in about 2004, I think, 2005.
What name was it under?
It would have been under Lady Scraper. Horrible name.
Well, yeah, it is. Did you have this book?
No, you see, so got booked for the Peel. He died. Then it was Hugh Stevens. So it was a Maida Vale session.
Oh, it was Hugh Stevens.
Yeah. So it was right on the cusp. So I think like Henry and like so Shitmat and stuff like that, he played in his last show ever, I think.
Yeah, it was a Trencher one as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. There was and it was this Brighton scene, and it just kind of like clicked into it and stuff like that. And so I think Henry had done a Peel session, and then they were kind of going through, and then they were kind of getting more and more involved with our crew, and then obviously he passed away, which is super sad. But I was totally gutted because it would have been a Peel session, but it was a Maida Vale session.
Yeah, that's good fun in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing to be in that studio, especially playing the music I was playing. It was totally disgusting, horrible gabba. It was kind of like a session with, do you know Shitmat Henry? Do you know?
No,
come across Henry?
No, not really. No, I know the name, but I don't know.
Yeah, total lovely guy, but total lunatic. And we were supposed to be doing like a laptop battle together and stuff like that, and he just turned up with like a recorder and a xylophone, and they were all like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I didn't want to play off my laptop today. I'm gonna play off this recorder and this xylophone." And it was totally amazing. Fucking only the way Henry could pull something like that off. It's really funny.
But so here's a couple of things that you've touched at Bear Bites Horse.
Yeah.
So you did
what a banger.
Yeah, you either recorded them or you've mastered them or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, I recorded that one. Yeah. Such a good album.
Yeah.
Love it.
One of my favorite bands, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So underrated. It's just kind of because I was in a band called Death Pedals at the time, kind of around like 10 years ago. We're quite similar. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
We were going to get to that, but we'll go to it now. You
jumped the gun.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Love that band. It was so much fun. And I think we wouldn't have stopped if Alex wouldn't have moved to America. But it kind of that, like that band was built on friends.
Yeah.
From, kind of, and it was one of those bands that wasn't like we felt as though we could revolve members. And it was that thing when Alex was like, I'm going. We're like, we've had a good run, 3 albums.
Yeah.
Let's call it a day. But yeah, I miss that band.
Yeah. Recorded and mastered.
That would have been an early one that I recorded, I think.
Yeah, you did. Right, it says here. Recorded, mastered. So yeah.
Yeah. But it's a terrible thing, recording and mixing and mastering your own band. It's so hard.
Yeah. Like press record.
Too close to it.
Run to the studio. Something to do with Lower Slaughter album?
Yeah, recorded that one. Yeah. Love it. Again, you're picking some absolute punk bangers there that I've done. Yeah. I love
there's only a couple on Box, which Matt Beatty from Pigs, go back and watch his episode. I tell him off for the barcode.
What's wrong with the barcode?
Oh, I made a decision not to have any barcodes on any releases.
Sure.
So Kloss's album.
Well, with Hominid, we've just we never had barcodes, and then we've just actually started doing it because the guy that does all our posting, I think it was quite harrowing for him putting 300 barcodes on records that were going to distro.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't want to pay distro to do it.
Oh yeah, I do. I just pay the distro to do it and get them to stick it on the sticky stuff. And then then it comes off and it's gone. And then they only stick it on the ones that I send them. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think for us it was just a total streamlining of everything recently. Just like but I get it. You know, it's just that thing. We're like, where are we gonna put it? It's such a horrible thing.
Yeah. So as a left turn, then that's Hominid Sounds that you run with
Matt, Gordon, Graham.
Yeah.
I
was going to say Matt from Descalator, but he's moved on, and I was like, oh no.
Descalator, though, they were a really important band for me when I kind of started playing in death pedals and stuff like that. Like seeing Descalator was just one of those bands you were just like, this is blowing me away. So good. That kind of, you know, that moment. What would it have been 10 years ago, 11 years ago in London? And yeah, there was some cracking. There's great bands now, but at that point, I don't know, just some guitar bands felt really good in London at that point for me. But maybe it was just the age I was at as well.
No, that is something that happens, isn't it? Is you hit your peak little moment, and then like if you know, if you'd have been 10 years before, you'd have been saying like 3 or 4 different bands, or
totally,
like 100 Reasons or something. You'd be like, oh, I love that. You know, people do, don't they? Because that was the band playing a lot.
Totally. They resurfaced today.
That's
What's
right.
That?
Sly and the Family Drone. You're involved in this somewhere, right? I think you mastered it.
I might have mastered that one. Yeah, I lose track with those guys because I've released some with Hominid, mastered some, but I don't think I've ever mixed one. No. I'd love to record one as well. Like I've always said that to Matt, that I'd love to get my teeth into recording one of their records.
There's mastered by.
Is okay? Yeah.
I'm not out to test you here. I'm just.
No, it's good. It's good to be reminded of some of the stuff I've done because I definitely forget.
And I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, but I can't read any of the writing on the back of this because it's done in like weird. I think you mastered this. This is the Sweet Williams album that I put out.
Is this the new one?
It came out, yeah.
Because I've been working with Thomas, kind of mastering a lot of his stuff over the last year and a half.
Yeah, so that's the one that came out on Wrong Speed there.
Ah, amazing. Great. Sweet. I didn't realize it went on vinyl, that one, I don't think. I'm sure I would, I obviously did him a vinyl master, but I don't think I ever knew that it actually kind of made its way out.
No, we only pressed like 100 and then they were all gone, and then that was that.
That's that. Nice.
Yeah, it was, I don't know why I only did 100. I think it was because I was new to the game and I didn't want to get lumbered with 400 records in the basement.
Well, yeah, like, I kind of wish that we could, we swing wildly with Hominid. Just like, I wish that it was reasonable to do 100 records, but actually by the time we've done 250, it's the same amount. But, it's that kind of difficult thing, isn't it, with pressing records at the moment there. Once you get near that 250 and 100, the difference is 50 quid.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah, it's like 50 quid plus VAT. And then, but for me, I just think it's what is it? It's a scale of economy, right?
Yeah.
But the scale of economy only works in your favor if you sell them all. Totally. Like, that's it. And, this is what I've been kind of cracking my head against the wall, like, since obviously July the 1st happened, and it just seems like our European sales have just disappeared overnight. You just like everyone from Bandcamp and stuff like that has just stopped buying records. So having meetings with distributors and stuff like that, it's like, how do we sell 250 records? Surely it's not that hard to sell 250 records. It's not that many. Come on, how do we do it? You know what I mean? Like, and just trying to figure that out at the moment. Yeah, do you think? Because obviously in the same boat here. Do you think that we need to like focus more on shops in Europe and other ways?
Well, do you know what? We're kind of actually just going to try and focus for the moment on shops in the UK and building up kind of like solid relationships with shops through distro, but also kind of smaller, distribution kind of stuff. And it's going to be a bit more work kind of doing it, I think, because you're going to be dealing with sale and return and stuff like that. But I think that is going to be the key, kind of just building up relationships with those shops, kind of, even if it is kind of, you've got your distributor, but if the shop knows you've got something coming, they'll look for it. And, kind of, I was chatting with because I did the John record, and those guys are selling a lot of records and stuff like that. And a lot of it has been through John doing it himself, the drummer, kind of setting up his own label. And, that's kind of what he's been doing. He's just like, I'm just kind of building relationships, I'm not just posting about, you can buy the record from Bandcamp. It's like, you can buy them from these indie shops as well. And it's like, he made a really good solid point, that actually, if you start building up these relationships, much like we did with bands with touring around the UK, you know what I mean? You build up a network, and then suddenly it becomes a little bit more feasible to make these things happen. We're trying to do the same with Europe, but everyone, I think at the moment, is just feeling a bit negative about it. So it's hard to get people kind of engaged and being like, look, come on, even if it's just 5 records off us, if you take 5 records off us, that's amazing, but they're like, oh, but we're going to get taxed on it. Blah, blah, blah. You're like, yeah, sure, I get it. And, I don't know, hopefully in about 6 months time, don't know, kind of, there's a few people that are talking about having, a small hub in Europe. So, the records don't even come into the UK, they stay out in Europe and they go to that. And then we've got a smaller distribution hub to independents out in Europe.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ideas. I think everyone's just a little bit kind of beaten down with having to do more work.
Oh yeah, God. I think that it's like the underground, which, for want of a better description, but let's face it, always finds a way with this stuff.
Totally. I absolutely believe in that. I've said that all along with everything, is that we will always find a way. I've never been too negative about the touring thing in, kind of, oh, we can't go out to Europe and tour. It's like, no, we'll find a way. We always have, we always will. Might be a little bit harder. There might be a little bit more work involved, but it's not going to stop me doing what I love, like just for a bit more paperwork or whatever. I'll just get t-shirts made out in Europe and pick them up there. It's just like,
we like little sort of rats or whatever. You just find a way and get in there and nibble at the damn cheese.
Exactly. We'll find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It was easier before, but I'm trying not to think about that. Just like, how do we do it now?
Yeah. Well, in regard to touring, I'm not even going to say it was easier before or anything until I've tried it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know. I'm under the impression that you can get into France all right.
Yeah, I think that's it. There's a few places that nothing's changed, right?
Yeah. Once you're in France, like, what the hell are they going to do?
Yeah.
You're there. You're in. You can just drive around from that point. I just don't get it. But
no, exactly.
No.
Yeah, me neither. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, maybe that's the key, is to hire a van in France so you haven't got UK number plates.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're talking about ways around this, because that's what they're going to look for, isn't it? A UK number plate and stop you.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I've got, my head is totally in the sand about it, and I'm like, bollocks to it. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think that I just can't see being. Maybe I'm tempting fate here, but I really don't see getting pulled over on the motorway. I have no idea. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Literally, and I guess, like a lot of these situations, it's got so much to do with the personality that pulls you over. You know what I mean, as well. And if they're a total job's worth, or if they're maybe a little bit more sympathetic to, like, oh, you're a small DIY band with 50 shirts and 50 records, we can't be asked with it, just go get on your way, you know what I mean? So we hope we get those. Okay. And I just want to show, this is, you're not involved in this release, but I do think you've done something with them, and I just want to show it because I don't think I've spoken about this band at all, and it's a band I really like, and it's Silent Front.
I recorded their last album and EP. I think it was it, or maybe it was just an EP that I did. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I've just recorded Phil's new band. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to, because I just haven't brought them up at all in this, and
They're the best, aren't they? They again, that was like when I was rediscovering punk, having spent a lot of time in electronic music in London. I'm finally kind of getting out of the Dublin Castle kind of mess, bugbear, horribleness, and stumbling into a ripless joint for the first time. I think Silent Front were playing, and just suddenly being like, I knew there was good music in London. I finally found it.
Yeah, this is it. And like they put the shows on in Kingston, and
Totally.
and when from my experience, when they put all dayers on in Kingston, they put themselves on first as well, which I would like.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah, totally. That was very much we were all pulling from the Fugazi school of at that point, I think.
It's nice. Look at it. It's a gatefold. It comes with a CD attached.
We always laugh about that because every gig Phil would be like, "Oh, look, you can buy the vinyl and it's gatefold with a CD in it," and he'd always talk about the CD and how much he loved the packaging.
But yeah. Anyway, Silent Front, another band I had. Like in my mind, Death Pedal, Silent Front, and a few others are very
totally. I really connected, and still are. You know, kind of like meeting those guys and those guys that, and you know, now Gareth is in USA Nails and Phil in X'd Out, and he was in Dead Wound before that. You know, I've recorded. You know, I wasn't recording bands at that point, but those guys were the reason why I started recording bands, because it was like, there's all of these amazing bands, but there didn't at that point really seem to be a studio catering for us. So it was just about very much kind of filling a hole, you know, because I don't think we'd really discovered Dropout at that point, or, you know, kind of you would like, we were a slightly different generation to kind of you guys and kind of Part Chimp and stuff like that. And so I think everyone was still kind of fumbling around trying to find somewhere to record. And that was kind of very much what I did. I was like, well, I'll create like a little hub where we can all just kind of record. And, you know, never really was my plan to turn it into a day job. You know what I mean? It was just kind of fluke. So, you know, those guys are a massive part of the last, I don't know, 12 years of my life in London.
Yeah, lovely blokes. Well, really like it. So you play in bands other than Death Pedals?
I play band. I do play band, yes.
So here's one, Pet Brick.
Yeah.
With
that guy.
This guy.
Yeah.
And by the way, if he's watching, hello Igor. He won't be. But just imagine he watches these things.
I'll send him a link to it. He'll watch it. I'll be like, we talk about you, watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Hi. Side A of Beneath the Remains is literally the best like thrash metal record of all time. Side A. And I love it all. But side and I just want to and just this photo here, I've mentioned it before, but that was so eye-openingly, weirdly influential when I was like 14, 15. Yeah. It's like them sitting on a rock somewhere in Brazil, I assume.
Yeah, but looking cool. Totally.
Well, exactly. And at this point, this is 89. At this point, none of us knew anything about music that wasn't from America or the UK, essentially.
Yeah, because I think maybe I'm just a little bit younger. Chaos AD was the one for me, but it had the same thing. You know what I mean? Like Chaos AD was a massive record for me because it was just like, it wasn't an American band. It wasn't a Brit. Well, I think I was probably just listening to everything that was American at that age. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you know, Chaos AD definitely did the same thing, and you know, it sounded like Chaos AD sounded like otherworldly as well. You know. That, you know, like Igor's kind of where his drumming was kind of going on that record and stuff like that, starting to bring in like more and more of the samba stuff. It kind of totally.
Yeah, it's so I know
did you go and see them play it? Did you see him and Max play it about 2 or 3 years ago? They played Beneath the Remains in a Rise kind of. Me and Jimmy Martin went, and it was amazing. It was so good. They totally killed it.
I would love to. I know you've probably answered this many times before, but just imagine that people don't know, including me. How the hell did you hook it up?
What? How did I hook up with Igor?
Mm.
He came. Well, we've got a mutual friend, a guy called Aaron Spector, who plays under the name Drum Corps, who does kind of breakcore metal kind of crossover stuff. And I've known Aaron for a long time from doing breakcore with like Wrong Music and stuff like that. And we were playing a gig with him with my band Big Lad at the Underworld. Maybe I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And then, played the gigs, great gig. Went to work the next day and I got this email kind of pop up on my phone from Igor Cavalera being like, "Hey, I love your band." And I was just like, oh, holy shit, that's kind of crazy. I was like, wow, and I think I caught wind that he was in London at that point, because I think he'd done some jams with like Boningen and some people like that. And just totally kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, oh yeah, man, nice one. I guess Sepultura are all right, I guess, and then but then we just kind of started chatting just on email a little bit. And he was touring Roots, like the 25th year or 20-year anniversary, whatever it was, of Roots with his brother. And so we just stayed in touch, kind of just firing music back and forwards, not too much, but just, hey, check out this if you're kind of into weird breakcore stuff, I'm doing this. And then I think it came to a Big Lad show and we kind of met up once, but then we didn't really kind of, chat to each other for another year or so because he was just out on the road. And then I saw that he got some like modular synth gear stuff that I kind of muck around with, and kind of messaged him and was like, oh, if you're into this stuff, maybe check out this stuff. It's super cool. And he was like, yo, like, I'm back in London. Do you want to just hang out? Grab a coffee or something like that. I was like, yeah, sure, man. Totally. That sounds cool. And so he came over to my studio and I was kind of excited. I'd had about like 2-3 coffees already. And, I was like, oh, should we go grab that coffee? And then kind of had a coffee and then thought, no, I think we both had like 4 or 5 coffees, like just in my studio, just kind of bouncing off the wall together. Just like, I was like, go and play the drums, go and do a D beat. That would be amazing. You know what I mean? God, this would be so good. And so, we just wrote like 2 tracks kind of in a day together, and was just like, hey, that was pretty cool, and he got some downtime in London and, I was just using the off days in my studio. And so we would just kind of just continued that for, kind of every week or every couple of weeks for kind of 2 or 3 months, just because we had some time off. And at the end of it, those were the tracks that kind of became the first EP. And then it was that kind of thing where it was like, I don't think we'd ever really planned on doing it live or anything like that. And then the band Uniform are kind of friends with Igor. They were playing in London and asked Igor to kind of do something as a support act. And he was like, hey, should we try and do this live? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? Great. And so that's what we did basically, and put it together kind of live. And then, by the time you've done a live gig, it becomes a real thing. And then you're like, okay, well, let's do an album. I just met Chris from Rocket, and there was kind of, ways that we could start. Yeah. And that was kind of how the whole thing kind of came together, and then how we ended up releasing it on Rocket. And it's, super cool. It's amazing. It's really fun. We get on really well, and we've just finished a new album literally about last week, I think. So this will be our second full length. And saying to someone the other day about, because it's like on paper it's a very similar setup to Big Lad, electronics and drums, but the way that I kind of the collaborative thing kind of works. I was like, when I'm in a room with Henry, we write a very specific sound, even though I am very much a part of just the synths and the drums. But, the way Henry plays the drums, I react in a different way to the way Igor kind of plays the drums, and I write synths to those kind of parts. And, Igor knows a bit about synths and stuff like that. And so, and kind of, so, it's that kind of really interesting thing that I find that, we write really cool music together, which is really nice. It doesn't feel forced. It feels very kind of organic, and it flows, and it's great when that happens. And so you're like, yeah, it's cool. So yeah, but yeah, kind of weird though. Kind of how much I listened to Chaos AD when I was a kid, and then where we are now. But he's super chill about it. First time we kind of met, he gave me a copy of Roots. He's like, oh, bought you a record, and it was kind of, it was a really nice way of kind of just dealing with the not even dealing with it, but just acknowledging it and just letting it be there. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I probably I wrote this record that was probably a big part of your childhood. It's like, yeah. So it was a really nice way of like, really, love the way of kind of dealing with it by just like, here you go. Like, yeah, great. Give him some Big Lad records and then kind of make some music together.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, so Big Lad, who you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Really, not ultimately the last band I saw, but probably one of the last few I saw, because we played Supersonic together.
Ah, yes, we did, didn't we? Yeah, because we were just like kind of, I can't remember. We were like the late party band, weren't we? And you guys were kind of, it was like the after party, wasn't it, for Neurosis?
That's it, yeah. So
kind of vibe.
Yeah, you went on after us.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was great. It was super fun. Really. Yeah, I love that festival so much. I think I've been lucky to kind of play it like the last 4 years in various different forms, kind of through collaborating with Gum Takes a Tooth, and then I ended up there. I did something with like UKAEA and Val, and some Matt from Pigs, just kind of all piling on stage at one point and doing some weird improv thing because the headliner had pulled out, and they were just like, you guys get on stage, just play gabba at everyone, I think.
So the other guy correct me if I'm wrong, the other guy is this guy here.
It is that guy. Yeah. What a band as well.
Yeah, so there you go. Shield your eyes.
Yeah. I know, that's it. I've got one of their records over it. I've got I'm gonna pull one of my records out because it's reference. Hang on, where is it? I've got a really messy. This is like one of my favorite records. Steph's Cry and Sing.
Oh, nice.
Do you know this one? No, it's a solo record that came out 2020. So I'm not sure if it was quite locked down when it came out, but it was around it. But I listened to it a lot in lockdown. It's an amazing guitar album. Just Steph being amazing at being Steph and playing guitar in the most unique way.
Very distinctive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just totally inspiring. And the way Henry and Steph play together is wild. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just, I think one of the things that Steph first said to me when we started Big Lad was like, if you notice that Henry just plays a song once and he just won't ever forget it. I'm like, yeah, he has this amazing musical kind of brain, and it just, if we're playing a Big Lad song and we make a mistake, it's always me, guaranteed. Even if I'm like, Henry, did you play that wrong? He's like, no, no, I didn't. I was like, oh, of course, sorry, why am I even questioning you? Yeah. But again, it was like they were part of just that scene. And I think the first time I saw Henry play, he was about 16. He was like a baby. I think he was like, 18, 19 when they did like Volume 4 or something, stupid young kind of. And when they were doing like the first Shield Your Eyes albums, he was like 16, I think.
Mental.
Yeah, such an amazing drummer.
Yeah, weirdly, the first time I saw them was it's not weird, but I saw them quite late in the day. I think I saw them at Super Normal around 2013, 14 or something. A year or two before this one came out. And absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah, totally. They were like that. And that was kind of, like with Henry, with Big Lad, he just emailed me. He was like, oh, I hear that you kind of into electronic music. you know, he's like, I want to do this like live breakcore thing. And I literally hadn't met a drummer that I ever thought could do it. But I'd seen Shield Your Eyes, but I didn't know Henry. And he just kind of emailed me saying, hey, do you want to give this a crack? And I was like, you know what? Actually, I reckon this guy can do it. You know, like out of everyone that I've seen and any drummer that I've ever come across to do this kind of live. And that was, again, you know, just like getting in a room together and you just clicked and you just like, holy shit, this is like magic, man, playing with this guy. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And so, okay, well, you can mention it. So today is the 20th of July.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, this video will probably come out on the 22nd.
Tomorrow.
So this video will come out on the 22nd, I think. So you can say yesterday.
Okay.
How are you going to say it? But tomorrow, yesterday.
Yeah. So the 22nd, the New Big Lad album goes on pre-order. So it's Thursday.
Okay. Cool.
So is today Thursday now?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe I've actually got a record here because I think it's some of my favorite artwork that we've ever had done for a record. And as long as this is going out the day that the record goes on pre-order, no one's gonna kick my ass. So I'm gonna show you it because I'm so stoked on it. It's such a beautiful record. It's just our equipment, but isn't that a nice looking record?
Yeah, it's nice. What's it called?
Power Tools.
I thought you said Power Fools.
Power Tools, not far off. Yeah. You know, it was that thing, you know, like I think we were driving down the motorway and then, you know, I saw some roadworks and I was like, oh, you know, those guys, you know, the Men with Tools. And so for a long time it was going to be called Men with Tools. But then we were just like, maybe let's get away from the stupid fucking penis pun. and so we did an EP and that was called Hand Tools. So that was still a bit of a penis pun. But now this one's Power Tools. So I don't know, is that a pun? Maybe.
So tell us what label it's on and where people can go.
So this record here, Hominid Sounds, releasing it myself on my own label this time. Kind of, yeah, just decided to take charge of a record of my own. You know, in the past, tend to like to hand it over to someone else, but this one kind of fancied doing it myself. So yeah, it's up for pre-order now. Today on Thursday, even though it's Tuesday, but it's Thursday.
You have to pretend you're working in the media. Like people film Christmas shit in July. Come on.
Exactly. So this is why I can't sell 250 records, because I'm just confusing everyone by saying Tuesday, Thursday. So Thursday, yeah, this record's out, and you'll be able to hear the first song. And we've got a wicked video by Mike Bourne from Teeth of the Sea, who seems to be doing everyone's videos at the moment, because I think that was a lockdown skill that he picked up. So that should all be out with some tour dates and a London headline show. So hopefully we don't go towards another lockdown and we can do a tour, but let's see what happens.
When are the tour dates?
December, when every other band in the world is touring. End of November, early December. I think we're all just going to be passing each other on the motorway.
Exactly. Yeah, we're end of October, early November, and at the end of November.
So, yeah. I think I clocked it. I was like, wow, there's just like everyone's just gone for November and December, and so I think we're just a little bit later than everyone else. So probably by then everyone's going to be sick and tired of gigs or got coronavirus again, and our gigs will be empty. No,
not at all. So you've got that record there. So you've waited, you're running a label and you've waited for the record to turn up before putting up the pre-order?
Well, so everyone was like, hey, it's gonna take 8 months to get your record made at the moment. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll set a release date for September. We got to turn around in 2 months.
See, there you go.
You know what I mean? And so this is kind of, I'm not sure if we were recording, but about staying positive about stuff. You know, I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, people are saying it's taking 8 months, but I seem to be turning stuff around in 2 to 3 months, you know? And I can work with 2 to 3 months. That's fine. You know?
God, yeah. Like they have to do worst case scenarios for everything. Because otherwise, like pressing plants and the broker, whoever you use, they have to say, could take 12 months.
Yeah.
Then you're not nagging after 2. And then when it
yeah.
comes up
Like
after
our
free,
brokers, I think our broker's been quite cool in that they've stopped taking on any new work, like any new clients, and they're only because of the allocated, quick turnaround slot that they have, that they've kind of judged it so all of the labels that they've been working with over the last 5 years can still get their records turned around.
Yeah, it's cool.
So, I'm really thankful for that, because it means that we can, keep ticking over, and we've got a couple more kind of lined up for the end of the year and stuff like that. And so I think we should be able to squeeze them all out by, December or January at least, that kind of time.
So there you go, Big Lad pre-order it today.
I
feel like this is a press junket now.
I know. I just totally hijacked it. You were doing all the promo for me earlier though with the records I've recorded. Now I'm just talking about the records I'm releasing now.
Okay. I want to talk about the last band that I've heard you do, which is the most recent thing. Something I'm really liking. Wasted Death.
Hey, yeah, I love that. It's super fun.
Yeah, it looks like from the outside, it looks like it's going to be a here we go. It looks like it's going to be a municipal wasty sort of thing.
Totally, yeah.
And then when you listen to it, it kind of is, but it's also a bit, and you say it yourself on the write up, a bit convergy, or that's. Yeah. But it's somewhere like. So I thought.
Right. So I do you know what? Maybe I'm about to undo all the work we've done. I was quite calculating with this. I was like, metal merch is the most fun. Metal merch, metal visuals. You can have so much fun with metal. Exactly. Municipal waste. It's totally that. I was just like, that's what I want to have. Loads of fun with the artwork. So I gave it a really stupid name, Wasted Death. Exactly. And so this is what we're going for, and it's working. Like we haven't played any gigs, but we're selling stuff, and you're like, amazing. But that's the whole thing was like, because Big Lad and Pet Brick, they're a lot of work. Those bands are complicated things to kind of do because it's electronics, it's drums. It's like when you're playing a gig, it's like chaos, because you're like, I use all of these 8x10s and, so Wasted Death was like, right, this band is going to be me with a guitar. And I've never played guitar before in a band. So I'm really bad, which is kind of funny. But I'm going to find the old Death Pedals drummer who's now in USA Now, who's amazing. And Charlie, who I'd met through recording him, and I was just like, this guy, again, it's the best thing about like running a recording studio. You get to meet all of the best musicians, and I was like, Charlie's got an amazing voice and he's an amazing bassist. So I'm just going to kind of put it together. So those guys do all the hard work. I can have 4 cans of Red Stripe. I can turn up with a rucksack with my guitar in, looking like a BIM student, and off I go.
Yeah, it's cool. There's 2 EPs?
There's 2 EPs, yeah. And I think we're talking about just jumping in and recording an album now. Just trying to keep the the momentum going with it. Yeah, it's like I'm having a great time with it because it's kind of, I think if I was left to my own devices in Death Pedals, this is where I would have pushed Death Pedals. I would have just gone faster and harder. You know what I mean? Because that's it. Bands like Converge and stuff like that, just like they were kind of a huge part of me discovering a certain type of heavy music, we've just done a track with Jake with Pet Brick, so that's been pretty wild to kind of get to work with Jake from Converge on a track on the new album. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but Chris from Rocket might. But yeah, it's super cool to be kind of tapping into that world a little bit through Pet Brick and those kind of guys, but then also kind of doing Wasted Death. Because Pet Brick was supposed to go on tour with Old Man Gloom during lockdown, which would have been great because Nate from Converge played on a Cavalera album, I think. So there's a kind of connection, with Converge and these guys. And so again, it's like, it's kind of exciting for me to be the weirdo noise dude, then suddenly kind of having this, world opened up to me.
What I'm really learning over the last few years, either doing these chats or just getting to meet lots of people who are considered like way more successful, is that the ones that are I don't know how to put it, but some of them really keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Totally.
Like way beneath their, like sometimes you look at someone, I don't okay, I'm going to take a punt at someone like Josh Homme, right? Do not know him, know nothing about him whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he only listens to
Foo
like,
Fighters.
Yeah, whether he keeps his finger on the, do you know what I mean? Whereas in my experience, Mark Lanigan, who we've sort of half met and chatted with, keeps his finger totally on the pulse. Aaron Turner from Old Man Gloom, which is why I'm bringing it up, totally keeps his finger on the pulse, which is why Colossus ended up doing dates with Sumac.
Yeah.
It's because there's certain people who have made it in that, in our eyes. Still will go and buy the 100 CDR release and the thingy, and
that's totally Igor's vibe. That's it. He's just like, I think him and his brother are kind of like total kind of music consumers, and just want to know what's new and kind of exciting and stuff like that. And it's like, maybe like, I think one of the records you kind of said was like, pick a record from a shop. So I'm going to pick a record from a shop. And so my friend runs Crypt of the Wizard in London, which is this kind of mad heavy metal record shop. But it's been through a little bit of a change recently. Originally it was set up with Marcus and Charlie, and then kind of just through kind of certain situations, Charlie's ended up kind of taking hold of the shop and just kind of running it on his own. And he's very much kind of, before it was a bit of, I don't want to say catch-all kind of metal shop. It was very kind of like true metal, but Charlie's weirdly just gone more and more niche with this record shop. And I've got this mad record. I don't really even know what it is. It's got some Chinese kind of writing on it, but it's Wagner Odegaard. But it's the kind of thing where, like, you literally go into the shop, you won't know any records now, but you've got to ask Charlie about what's cool. And this is like a weird, like, ambient black metal album, really kind of far out, kind of feels like maybe kind of gamelan kind of instruments being played and stuff like that. But with just a kind of metal, maybe it's just the artwork. This is how powerful artwork can be. Package it around black metal and stuff like that, and it kind of gives it that it gives it that thing. But it just kind of goes, right, listen to this in the context of black metal, and it's a cool kind of thing to do. And so I was in there with Igor, and I kind of bought one record, and he came out with a stack of complete, like, mad dungeon synth, ambient, kind of Japanese doom, kind of, And so Crypt of the Wizard, in a way, like, you'll go in there, you won't, you might know a couple of records, but 95% of the stock, you're probably going to have no idea what it is. But have a chat with Charlie, and you're going to find some amazing stuff in there. And so it's a really good, it's a great record shop for that. Kind of, it's smaller than it was. He's had to move, and it's literally not much bigger than the size of the bedroom that I'm sitting in at the moment. But he's maybe got 1,500 records, and it's all just completely far out. And he's just reaching out to tiny little distributors around the world and kind of pulling in these totally far out records.
That sounds awesome.
And it really is like, it's a really cool record shop, and Charlie's like super knowledgeable about the stuff. And once you kind of get him going, like, you will walk out with records. And like, Igor was like kind of chatting with me after, he was like, dude, these records are insane. There's nothing about these people online. Like, you can't find any information about, these bands or this music. And he was just totally taken by that, because everyone's obviously got a Bandcamp, and and so that's it. It's just like, has found a way to be even more niche and more weird, more underground, because he does a lot of DJ sets for like the Vinyl Factory and stuff like that, and so he's just wants as much weird music as he can. And so so absolutely, just to go back to that original point, there's some people that just get comfortable. I don't know, who's was it? Fucking Rob Halford, what is it, his favorite record was like Michael Bublé or something terrible like that, the last year, because he's just not into metal. It's just, okay, he embodies metal, sure, he is Mr. Metal, but is he, kind of, could he tell you any interesting metal bands? No. whereas Igor could send you an email of, 200 bands that he's probably found out about in the last, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's great,
But Crypt of the Wizard, though, I had been there. It sounds like it's changed since I was there then. I think it was somewhere.
Was it all black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in and around Hackney somewhere. And
yeah, so it's just moved 500 yards down the road, kind of closer to Old Street on the same road, but it's just a bit smaller. And we were laughing about it in that Charlie hasn't painted it. It's white now. It's just white. So it's like, it's like Gandalf or something like that. He's kind of come back, even a more powerful wizard, and
sounds awesome. It sounds really good though.
Yeah, totally. I loved what it was. It was amazing when it was just like the only kind of metal shop in London. But even in 5 years, that's changed now because you've got Rise Above. There's a few other kind of, it feels like, maybe Rough Trade and stuff like that have started picking up more metal stock. So Charlie's just gone weirder and more niche, and and it works, I think. So
I think I haven't been there, but I've got a feeling there's a metal shop in Bristol now.
There is, yeah. And there's a funny little link there, but my good friends, it feels like the guys from Bristol might have nicked a logo from Crypt of the Wizard and just put it around their shop. So Charlie and Marcus are like, you know what it's like, they're getting a bit competitive about it. I'm just like, come on guys, you're both a metal record shop, this is a good, we can be friends. and I'm sure they will be, but I guess it's that difficult thing, isn't it, when you're selling records and selling one genre of record, you're going to see everyone else as maybe as a competition.
Here's the thing then, I think that because record shops are like with all high street shops are up against it, right, with the battle against the internet and a battle against you're gonna people buying from Amazon and all that bollocks. But I think a record shop will survive if it does streamline and focus. All I was gonna say, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go to London, I'm gonna go to All Ages because it's a punk rock shop, so I know what I'm getting from All Ages in Camden. I might check out Crypt of the Wizard because it's going to be totally focused on this obscure out there metal or however, rather than going to a shop that's just got a bit of everything.
Yeah, totally. Because I think that's it now, isn't it? If you're going to a record shop, you're kind of going to spend some money as well. You want to spend money. That's why you go to a record shop. I want to go and buy something really weird. Because I could just buy this on the internet otherwise, you're like, I want to go and support an independent business. But when you've got that added bonus, you literally, if you've got someone that's approachable in there, you can be like, look, I know nothing in here. What's cool? And you can have that dialogue. Then it's like, and it's weird because actually the Crypt of the Wizard shop is so small now, it doesn't have a counter. So it's even got rid of that kind of, that I've got to talk to someone behind a counter, that kind of barrier. Charlie's just standing there kind of in there with you, and you've just got to, he's a big dude, he's probably 6'4", and you're kind of like, hi, I can't actually get around this shop and around you, so you've got to interact with him. And so I think it's kind of a great, it's better for being smaller. It's better because it breaks down those boundaries of I really want to ask someone about this, but am I going to be that awkward douchebag?
But most people that run record shops, especially like that, want to talk.
Yeah, totally.
So
they want to tell you their favorite record, don't they?
People need to get that idea into their head as well. That then they're not like scary betting shops in the 70s or pubs in the 80s. They're friendly places with they're just as nerdy as you or me or anyone else.
Yeah. One record I was really funny, kind of just before we kind of organized to do this, I just ordered Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg on vinyl, and I really hoped it had turned up for one of those records that you didn't think that I would kind of like, because I had this weird situation when I was a kid, right? So when I was really young, I had an amazing CD collection, because it was CDs at the time, because there was these weird bootleg fairs all over Northampton where I grew up, And so I had this like massive collection of like Nirvana CDs that was like 30 albums, you know what I mean? It was like live things and radio things, and it was, but then my house got burgled when I was like 16. I lost the whole CD collection, you know what I mean? And then kind of when that happened, I kind of gave up on collecting CDs, you know, collecting music. But I have a real memory of being about, I don't know how, probably 13, 14. I'm really wanting Snoop Dogg Doggy Style and having to go into our price with my mum because it was parental advisory and you couldn't like buy it. And I was like, Mum, this is the one. And she kind of took it to the thing and they kind of looked at this little white kid being like, okay, yeah, sure.
Was that the case? Did you have to have your mum to buy records with parental advisory stickers on them?
Yeah, I definitely remember there was a small time that like the R price and there was spinner disc because I had to do it with Ill Communication as well. When that came out, that I couldn't go and buy Ill Communication. My mom had to buy that one for me as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I, you know, maybe it was just a weird thing like of being that age when the parental advisory, because it was that like parental advisory thing came in when I was just starting to get into records. I think, I'm not sure. Was it there before that? I can't remember. I have no idea, you know.
Yeah, before that it was like the PMRC. What does that sound? They had stickers on the back, like like Dead Kennedys and stuff rallied against them, or Jello Biafra did, maybe post Dead Kennedy, rallying against that sort of thing. And I think there was, and then they brought it in, those stickers on like records that you could spin backwards where you'd go and kill your parents.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so if you want to go and kill your parents, one of those records, you had to get your parents to go and buy the record. So it added just another level to the whole performative kind of thing, the ritual.
I've just
yeah, come on. No, you've got to buy this record first. Come on. Snoop Dogg and Ill Communication. But yeah, like Doggy Style, man. I really hoped I'd had it on vinyl because damn, I love that album. Like, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, it's just Dre's production, right?
Do you know what I mean? It's like the pinnacle of the G-Funk. It is just so minimal. So when you listen to it, there's just so little going on, but it's so beautifully put together, man. And it's just like, at that point, you know, Dre was just like, I don't know what he was doing. But when you think that he'd recorded all of that like analog onto tape, you know, kind of hell of a feat, man. Yeah, that was drum machines and the synths being played live. Amazing.
Yeah, the development of that whole genre of music I could talk about for hours. So we'll skip. But to me, like, just as an aside, I do think that it's the producers of all those big records. There's only a few of them you can name. Dr. Dre became like big because, you know, he was in NWA and like whatever else. But so many of those producers you can't name. Yeah, and I love the fact that they take a back seat and make the music, and then
there's so much of them in the music, but they're not being like, this is me. Yeah, totally.
You listen to Illmatic by Nas, or you listen to any of those, you very rarely look down at who made the song, you know, on that album. Like, it was made by about 5 or 6 different producers, like taking it in turns, just because they're like backseat people creating awesome music and not needing the big light. And there's something about that I absolutely love.
No, absolutely, you know, and you know, when I was definitely like at college and kind of studying art, that was something that I looked at all the time, about the role of the producer and performer and those kind of lines, and, you know, where you get the satisfaction in music, you know, kind of, do you want to be on the stage? Do you want to be just at home being the nerd? And then how they cross, where, you know, different personalities, how that kind of fits into that kind of world, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, so absolutely, yeah, totally with you. I think it's totally.
So you're both then? You're both?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm a total arrogant motherfucker. I want to do all of it. No, I don't know. Maybe, you know, maybe that's got to do with just, you know, the way the music industry's changed, and kind of, you know, like something that, yeah, I kind of talk about a lot to people. As you know, people ask me like, you know, how do you make a living off of music? And you're like, well, you've got to have all of these little streams of income, You know, it's why I keep just starting more bands. just need little bits of money, kind of little bit of merch money coming here, you know, bit of gig money kind of coming in here. Not that I'm ever making huge amounts of money from any of it, but just little bits just kind of keeps me ticking over. And in the middle of it, I have the production thing that kind of, you know, is like the day job. But then, you know, me being in a punk band like Wasted Death, it helps to kind of bring work into the studio, because people are like, hey, this guy actually cares about playing punk music, you know, kind of playing, you know, so it totally works, you know. And so all feeds in, I think, now, whereas maybe 20 years ago you didn't need to do that. Maybe there was so much work that you didn't have time to do that. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, no, it's good. You do need fingers in pies. I know that people that write, say journalist people, they might, like, they have to write for all sorts. You know, they'll have you know, they're not just focused purely on writing for Mojo magazine. They'll also be doing things that they don't really want to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we've done favorite record shop. What I liked is you did that really smoothly.
Did I? Yeah. Was that good?
Like it was.
Just gonna segue myself into it.
It's good. Obviously in a rush. Maybe EastEnders is on in half an hour.
No, it's just like mixing a record, man. That's it. I was just like, hey, this is the right time for this to happen.
So hit me with a record with memories.
Record with memories, right? This is this one, The Bronx 2.
Oh, cool.
Right, this was me getting totally bored with electronic music. Like I grew up with metal, I grew up with punk, but then when I went to Brighton, just went full breakcore electronic. That was it, and stopped listening to guitar bands for a long time. Maybe, well, like 4 years, you know, 4 or 5 years, you know, didn't seem that long, but when you just like, you know, guitar music was a big part of my life up to that point, just kind of stopped. I was like, they're just not interested in guitar music, weirdly, until I heard this album. And you know, I guess I was probably late 20s, something like that. Had just kind of met some people to start playing like guitar music again. And so like, I think this album, you know, yeah, sure, I'm not going to say it's like a classic album that kind of, it's just one of those records at my time in London where it was like friends, music. This record gave me so much direction with Death Pedals. Well, you know, the band that was called, there was a band before Death Pedals that kind of morphed into Death Pedals, called We Are Power. So when we were doing that band, this was what I was listening to. And so I feel as though this record is kind of how I've ended up as a recording engineer, because if I wouldn't have heard this record, I probably wouldn't have got as excited about kind of, you know, and it was that kind of weird thing where it was released on Swami, which is John Reese's label, from Rocket from the Crypt, Hot Snakes, Drive Like Jehu, kind of. And so kind of realizing, you know, and I think it was that kind of thing where I bought this album and then someone was like, oh, you know, this is on like John Reese's label. Didn't you like, you know, Rocket from the Crypt when you were a kid? And then kind of went down like the Swami hole and then discovered Hot Snakes after they'd split up, Drive Like Jehu after they'd split up, but then realized, I was like, oh man, like Hot Snakes, like Jesus, like what a band. And then they got back together and so we got to see them. So that was amazing. And like, we was like me and Alex and Death Pedals. I think it was like an ATP was the first gig that they'd played back, kind of having reformed, and this was kind of after we discovered them. I remember me and Alex being at the front. We're kind of waiting. There was like, so excited about seeing this band. Can't believe we're going to see it, because we never thought we were going to see, like, you know, Hot Snakes. And then I was like, oh, I want a crowd surf, and someone just threw me straight over the fence. I just got like shunted to the back like within like 5 minutes. But although this isn't a Hot Snakes record, this is kind of where it all started, you know, just discovering this band, The Bronx. The first record as well kind of went backwards after I found this one.
They got
these first two albums are just perfect.
Yeah, I think they got released in this country on Wichita.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
Which was odd. I guess Wichita did like Block Party and things like that. But
really, okay, right, yeah, sure, yeah. So I don't know how I've got hold of it. Maybe I bought it from a gig or something like that, because it seems to be the it is the Zwami kind of pressing of it. But yeah, I love this album.
I think
Still listen to it now.
Am I right in thinking the Bronx played were in that film about the germs? Is that right? Did they be the germs in a film about the germs?
Really, I don't know. They're pretty like, you know, they got some serious energy, so it wouldn't surprise me. And like, you know, at that point in time, like I went and saw them every time they came to London, and they were just amazing. Like, unfortunately, third record was cool, fourth one less so, but then they did the El Mariachi thing and kind of went that way and became like an El Mariachi band. Totally weird. And then they've just released a new album, but I think this is me, my producer hat on it. These first kind of two albums, like this one and the one before it, are really kind of like quite crusty sounding punk records. Especially the first one. The production's really lo-fi, and it's just so much better for it. You know, the new one just sounds like shiny, kind of someone's at home almost with a drum machine and a Kemper, and it's just like, it's not how you record punk music, you know.
Yeah,
it's,
it's interesting because we've recorded the last couple of things. This is what I said earlier, that if we'd have been in London, my guess is we probably would have been recording with you. But
yeah,
we're not really based in London now. Kind of, some of us are and some of us aren't. So we mix it up.
Yeah.
So we get recorded. Last couple of things we did were recorded by a fella called Ben Turner, and he has a studio in Wells, which is a city only a couple of miles away from me. I say city, it's absolutely tiny. And he also recorded us in Bristol at J&J. What's interesting talking to him is that he records all sorts of bands. And but he sees the benefit in all of them. Like for us, we're a live band, so we all play at once. Okay. Yeah. He has the amps all facing in one direction.
Yeah.
Mics up and all that sort of business.
Yeah, yeah.
But he also has bands come in, and there'll be the drummer will come in and play to like a click track, and then go home.
Yeah.
And
totally.
Then
yeah.
You deal with
that's it. Yeah, it is. It's totally like, you know, I try and have, you know, there's certain music that I prefer recording. I like it when I'm pulled out of my comfort zone. My favorite thing is to record a band live. I absolutely love it. It's like, I think most engineers hate it, but I love it. I'm just like, this is it. If I can get a band that is good enough to record live, I will record live with them. You know what I mean? I like, why would you kill the vibe out of tracking everything separately? Because there's so much vibe, so much energy. And it's, you know, music to me is about people. It's not about guitars. It's not about amps. It's about people and how they relate to each other. So you lose that relationship the moment you start tracking things separately. You know, you want to be like feeling each other. You want that, you know, beautiful moment when someone almost fucks up and they laugh about it, but they catch it. And then you feel the good energy in the rest of the take, you know, and it's just like those kind of things, you know, are gold to me, because weirdly now I think technology has, you know, enabled it so everyone can record great sounding music. You know, it's easy to do it, you know, if you've got a bit of patience and an ear for it, yeah, no doubt. But you know, the tools are there for everyone to do it. So if you want your record to stand out, don't make it sound like that Kemper preset, that drum sample pack. You know, like if you want your record to stand out in the masses and masses of music out there now, it's got to have personality, you know. And I'm having this discussion right now with a band who potentially want to come record with me. You know, they've sent me their last records. I'm like, look, these sound better than what I would do for you. You know, my recordings are going to be crustier, they're going to be vibier, because that's what I do, and that's what I want a band to do. I want that personality to be there, and that is so important to me. So yeah, you know, totally. That's it. Sorry, that was a bit of a.
It's interesting,
but I really care about it. I really care about it. I think it's so important.
I agree.
You know?
And just speaking to Ben, he does both because he has to work.
Yeah.
You know. And I think he sees the benefit of both, but I think he does prefer dealing with a live band. And what's interesting to me is I've always only ever recorded as a live band. I'm of the age where I've never done
totally.
Click track and separate and all that sort of stuff.
And
we've used technically bad takes because they feel better.
They feel better, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, and trying to explain that to some people, they get a bit freaked out, like, oh, is this guy being lazy or does he not care? And it's like, well, I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm just here to kind of be like, this is what I love, you know, this is how I see music, you know, and if you want that, then you know, come and record with me, we'll have a fucking great time, you know. That's kind of it. We'll be very productive, but you know, like, it's that. And yeah, like, I have a thing, and I end up talking about this quite a lot in a, you know, a few podcasts, but like, you know, drummers, like, I have a real thing with like metal drummers at the moment, and there's a real like imbalance about what they think they can do versus what they can do. And what I'm trying to kind of like, I keep playing Bolt Thrower to people. I'm like, listen to Bolt Thrower for a drummer that wasn't great, couldn't really do what he wanted to do, but the music's amazing for it. You know, like, you hear early Bolt Thrower, and I think it was like Jimmy, you know, Teeth of the Sea, pointed out to me, he's like, listen to this. He's like, this sounds like a car driving into a wall, and it doesn't stop, and it just keeps going into the wall, and it's so good for it. And you're like, this, you know, this is metal music that has real personality. You know, it's like, why would you want your drums to sound like just another kind of Meshuggah-esque kind of band? You know what, like, really, like, you can't quite do it. Why don't we just record you trying to do it? Okay, if it sounds really bad, then we'll strip it back, we'll bring it back. But until there's some personality in those drums, you know, because I think we're getting to that point now with metal, especially, where we're at this kind of weird saturation point, where it feels like we can't go any further forward with the music production. It can't get any more brutal. It can't get any more quantized. You know, it can't, you know, so the only way is backwards. You know, let's go backwards. Let's go back to the 80s, you know, like, let's go back to those recording techniques, you know, where it's just like, you're going to use a double kick pedal, I ain't going to quantize it, because really, when has a kick drum sound like a machine gun or exploding aerosol cans or whatever, you know?
No, I agree. Well, they can't beat the sound of, I don't know, I'm of an age, but live band playing and recorded.
Yeah, totally, man. And that's it. So yeah, you know, like, that Bronx record, huge part of that for me, you know. I'm moving forwards with it as they released records, being like, I don't like this band as much now, you know, they're sounding shinier, and how that's informed me. So yeah, you know, it's yeah, it is a really kind of, memories important, finding myself with punk music, setting an agenda for how I want to fit into this mad world of music. And you know,
those first two Bronx records are really good. Bargain Find,
right? Okay, I got two, because they're kind of fun. It's the same thing, right? But I actually bought them new, but one's still got a price on it, and I just want to show off to people how cheap I got this record, because it's so funny. This is like the Analog stuff by Aphex Twin. These knock around for about 100 quid now. Bought that new for £3.
Oh, nice.
From FOP, when FOP was shutting down. So yeah, kind of, I think they were only about 250 pressings of some of these. So kind of, again, super kind of, but I listened to them loads, you know, because I was like, well, I didn't know it was going to be valuable. But this one is again, it's another Aphex record, but under the name The Tuss.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, just kind of like, I love Aphex Twin like so much. And this was weird. I didn't realize this record was kind of valuable until this year, when I was just sitting there bored in the middle of lockdown, and was like, I wonder how much those Tuss records are worth, because it was one of those things that no one knew it was Aphex Twin when they were released. It was that kind of rumor thing that he was doing. Oh, is it, isn't it? You know, there's no info on the record, you know, it's literally just a disco bag, kind of, you know, who's written and produced by Karen Tregerskin, you know, just some, yeah, you know, but at the time I was like, I'm pretty certain that's Aphex, and about 400 quid, I think now. And I think, again, I paid about a tenner for it from FOP. So yeah.
Cool.
So there, yeah. That's the great thing about Aphex Twin, man. It's like, take a risk on the records that you think that might be him, that aren't under his name. If it turns out to be him, jobs are good.
He's Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada and a few others. I mentioned it in a very early episode of this. I wasn't an electronic music person when I was young. I was like metal and guitar, guitars and whatnot. But it was when I heard those sort of like early Boards of Canada stuff, Aphex stuff, and even the Orb. I always like to shout out the Orb. Did I realise that electronic music could have feeling? I was totally snobby about it, and I thought there's no feeling in that.
Music Has the Right to Children is such a. I think I saw someone describe it as like one of the best psychedelic albums ever, and I was just like, so true. Actually, I think about it as an IDM record or whatever, but actually give it the name psychedelic kind of, and you're like, yeah, it's mad. It's this sprawling like 16, 17 tracks of madness. And like I bought that recently on a repressing because I never had it on vinyl, and I kind of like these long records that are split into two sides, like four sides, two records, because you get a new picture on the album. You know what I mean? Like I've just spent loads of time listening to the last 4 tracks of that album because I kind of miss them, because it was 16 songs on CD, and then like just I'll grab this on vinyl, this would be a nice one to have on record, and then just literally having the D-side just sitting up on my turntable and just listening to it over and over again and being like, these last 4 songs are so good. They're probably the best 4 songs on the album.
It's weird. Like for me, like it was because if you listen to certain musicians, like as in the ones who play like officially proper instrument, drums and whatever, like I don't know, I don't mean that, but like I'm speaking,
no, totally get it. Yeah.
I'm speaking as a 12-year-old who likes Dire Straits and rock is the be all and end all, right? But when you listen to those bands, and when I finally got around to like listening to all that, I was like, actually, you can tell a Boards of Canada song. Like that's what they sound like. Or like in the same way that, I don't know, you listen to Dave Grohl playing the drums, you know it's Dave Grohl playing the drums because he chucks those little spins in, and Same with that. And when it hit me, I was like, oh, fuck. I wanted to show you this. It's not a rare record. It's not a band you don't know.
Yeah.
But this is an example. It's the Square Pusher stuff. Especially around this point, I absolutely love that song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing song. So good, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. And so Square Push is another one. So recently there's this, I don't know if you know this label, Analogical Force.
All right, no, go on.
Right. So this is I think Spanish label. And basically it's where the hole that Reflex left when they ended Reflex, this label has filled. And they're releasing like Mike Paradinas's music, kind of CFAX's music, and loads of people that were on Reflex. And there's been 2 records under the name RTR. And I bet you at some point that's going to come out. That's Aphex and Square Pusher together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like there's these 2 albums, and they're linked with RTR was an old IDM message board called Read the Rules, I think, something like that. And there was a record that was released called Steinlord.
Right.
And no one could work out if that was Aphex and Square Pusher. Again, it was this thing that was just feeding into the myth of Aphex. You know what I mean? And no one could work out if the Steinlord record was him, or if it was not him, or if it was him and Square Pusher. And people were like, well, we think it is Square Pusher and Aphex because Steinlord was a link of 2 track names or something, this weird stuff.
What label name?
Sorry?
What label name are you saying again?
Analogical Force.
I'm writing it down. Okay.
Yeah, it's seriously the electronic IDM stuff. If you like that era, brain dance thing, like early Warp, early Reflex kind of stuff, you'll love this label because they're just doing that. They're doing the brain dance thing. It sounds like electronic music from 20 years ago, which it was when I loved it. Kind of.
One of the reasons I showed this is because he was fond of playing like some live instruments as well, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to bring it up, because your 2 electronic acts, or however that you want to, it's like live.
Yeah, totally. Like I've seen Square Pusher play a few times, and I've got to be honest, it's never been great. No. But I learned so many lessons from that. Right. So I remember seeing him at Reading and Leeds, oh god, 2004, 2005. You know, like Square Push is playing in the dance tent. It's like, let's go and see that. You know, that'd be really cool. And he was having a fucking meltdown behind, you know, just like the sound man wouldn't turn it up. He was trying to, nothing was working. You know, it was like all of this, everything was going wrong. And I just remember him literally grabbing the microphone being like, hey, I fucking hate really quiet music, because it wasn't very loud. And, you know, he's a raver, you know, he just wanted to fucking like absolutely have it. And they just wouldn't turn it up because it was like 4 PM at Reading and they had noise restrictions and stuff like that. And so, you know, it was that kind of like, so I saw him there. Then I did see him in Brighton at the Dome and it was good. But again, like I just found that I never really like, I don't really like Godflesh live either, because I don't really like guitars and no drums, because I'm like, hey, it's like band karaoke, you know. You know, and I find, and so
I agree, because I've played that, I've done that once. I have been in a band with a drum machine.
Yeah.
And it's very restricting.
Yeah, totally. And so when I was like, I'm going to do electronic crossover with real instruments, I was like, the drums have got to be real. That's it. Which is why both my projects are real drummers. Okay. And then
do you know my amps? Do you know this?
No, I don't know that one.
Okay. It's a duo. It's guitar and drums, but the drums are mental because it's Chris Corsano.
Okay, yeah.
And I was wondering if it was a duo that reminded me a bit of what you get up to, but with guitar and drums, it's like freaky outy stuff. And
okay, amazing.
Really interesting.
Right, yeah, sweet. My phone battery died, but I'm going to ask you what that one was afterwards. You have to send that one to me in a message.
Yeah.
So I can check that one out. But yeah, you know, and obviously like Lightning Bolt and stuff like that. You know,
yeah, I did get that. I was wondering. It's interesting, like duo type stuff. Like I had the Lightning Bolt record here.
Yeah, but I think what I was learning. Yeah. Exactly. Like what I was learning was like when I was watching these people, and again, it goes back into like looking at performance, just like Square Pusher didn't engage me as a performance live. Love his music on record. Live, I just couldn't quite, I didn't see it on the right sound system, maybe, you know, or right situation. Just every time I saw him, it just never quite clicked. Lightning Bolt, you know, those kind of bands, those two pieces that almost sounded electronic, even though it wasn't electronic, but the way they were playing riffs, it felt like dance music. I was like, this is the setup. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And then there was one guy that I met called Duracell. Did you ever come across him touring?
Ooh, rings a bell. But...
French dude, one drum kit, and then did the trigger thing and had a double stack of kind of Marshalls, basically. And then that was it. When I kind of saw him do that and the sound that he was kind of creating, like he was doing like old like computer game covers on a drum kit, but all triggered and stuff like that. And kind of I ended up touring with him a bit. And then that was it really. And I, you know, I just had this idea for a project in my head. I was like, if I ever do an electronic crossover, it's going to have to be with drums. It's going to be with guitar amps, but my synths are going through guitar amps. You know, that's it. I've got to be as loud as a guitarist. You know, if we're playing in a like a small venue that's got a crap PA, I need to be able to wheel in 2 8x10s and be 10 times louder than the PA. You know, I need to get over Henry's drums, you know, with my sound. And so, you know, that was learning from Lightning Bolt and watching these kind of bands. Just like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna rip that off because that's a fucking great idea.
Yeah, no, it's it. I was thinking about Scotch Egg. Saw him play live once, and he did something with Rain in Blood, the Slayer song.
Yeah, super normal. Yeah, I was there because, like, do you know, I hadn't seen because I toured Japan with like Shige in 2003, I think, something like that. So we've got like a lot of history, like, and recently it's been really nice because I've reconnected with him because we did something with Nega tapes out in South Africa with Pet Brick, and so's Scotch Egg.
Do you have this?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So recently we just did this collab with Duma, and yeah, kind of like Shige, but that's super. I hadn't seen Shige in years, and that super normal. I woke up and he got into a tent with me. It's just like, Wayne. I was like, oh my God, like I haven't seen you in like 5 years. And then we were watching his set and he just ran Rain and Blood through a distortion pedal. And it was amazing. Was it like, it was in the middle of like a dubstep, not dubstep, but like dub set. He was like doing all dub. And then he just, I remember it was just Rain and Blood distorted. And it was just like, I forgot how good you were. Totally read the room.
Yeah, read the field.
yeah, man. It was amazing. It was so good.
I was thinking, do you know these?
Giant Swan. Do you know, I don't, but Igor does. I think one of the guys from Giant Swan might have supported us in Bristol, something like that, with his solo techno thing or something.
Yeah, Bristol.
But I have.
Yeah,
I've never checked it out, but I know that there's a buzz about it.
Yeah, you're in similar worlds for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned that label, because I never really get a chance to talk about how absolutely incredible this.
Dude, I'm so stoked to have done something with Duma, and the fact that these collabs are probably coming out on that label. I'm so excited about that. I'm just like, wicked. Yeah, it's really cool.
Seriously, if there's many good, the Duma thing, but if there's many good releases on this label, but if you want something totally like, you cannot believe it's so fast and excellent. Like,
totally. Like the Duma stuff that they were sending over, like when we were doing this collab, it was just, did you check it out? It was this weird online maze thing. I think it's still up, and it was like, it's us, so Pet Brick, Deaf Kids, Duma, and Simon Grab, who's a noise dude from Switzerland, and kind of we create this like online version of like, well, not, it's like the early Doom kind of games. It looks like that, but you have to run around and you find all of the music in in this maze, and it's pretty cool. And then because Doom are on Nega, and they were kind of part of this online festival that this got kind of collaborated. That's why we did it. They were like, we'll probably release this. It's like amazing. But yeah, the Doom stuff was just like, I don't know what he'd done to that drum machine to get it to go so fast, but it was like almost like granular synthesis. It was that quick. So you're listening to the tones that are kind of being created at kind of, congas running at 64, kind of, 64s at about 300 BPM.
Yeah, well, I've got like, in a sort of similar to me, I've got like say a Los Crudos compilation, like Chicago punk rock band, all their releases on like a double album, all like amazingly fast. But actually, when you listen to it all, it's like a drone. It's like a drone record. You're like, man, I can't listen to all this.
No, totally. And that's where this Doom stuff was. I'm trying to cut up these kind of bits to make like a track out of it. I'm just like, this is insane. I don't even know what they've done. Like, this is mad. Like, so it did just become kind of like textural stuff, like under like some of Igor's drumming and stuff. So it's great. It's like super fun to be collabing with these people. It's wicked.
Keep an eye out for that. Bought on tour.
So, well, I kind of, one of those weird things where I was like, I couldn't really find something that maybe I hadn't. It's terrible, but I hadn't recorded that I've been on tour with. So, but this was one that I bought from a record shop, because whenever we're touring, we go, it's what you do, right? You're like, we've got 3 hours to kill. Let's go to the record shops, I always try and buy something. I bought this. It's an old Borang Club de Gore record, but with Mike Patton in it. And I think I played a couple of festivals with these guys, and we saw them play in a church in Rotterdam, I think it was, and it was really beautiful. It was kind of this crazy festival where there was a lot of breakcore, a lot of gabba, but then they've got these guys kind of playing their kind of weird, I don't know what you call it, doom jazz kind of stuff.
That's how they say it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't know, I really love this album. It's one that I've listened to a lot over the last kind of year. It's really, really cool. It's quite old as well. I think 85, I think.
Really? What shop did you get it from? Where were you?
Oh God, where was I? It was Do you know what? I can't remember. It was the first. I remember the date. It was the first date at the Pet Brick Tour. But I can't remember which town it was.
UK.
Yeah, in UK. Yeah. I want to say Leeds, but we would have been in Crash if it was Leeds, but it wasn't Leeds. Can't remember. That's terrible, isn't it?
Terrible.
Well, yeah, but yeah, well, I really like this record. I bought it from a record shop because I think when you're touring, you should spend money in the independent shops, right, in the towns that you're in.
What year did you say that was out?
Well, I can't, not quite. Oh no, do you know what? That's a cover. That's why. I was like looking at the back of it. I was like, 85. That can't be right. No, I think this is 10 years old. This one.
Yeah.
I read that somewhere. It's about 10 years old. But there's a cover, Catch My Heart, which that's why it's the only date that's on the back.
Yeah, because Mike Patton in 1985 wouldn't have.
It would have been like 4, right?
I don't know. I can't imagine him being early Mr. Bungle years, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can't see him. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one. Yeah, I like this one. But yeah, I kind of I guess it's that thing where, like, I don't know, like, do you buy records off bands or do you swap stuff with bands? I do buy stuff with bands when I'm on tour, but I think we often find that we're swapping stuff. You know what I mean?
We swap unless the band we want to swap with don't like us, then I buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Try it on. Come on, swap a record. Yeah.
You suck.
I've done the same though the other way around as well.
Yeah, I know. I end up swapping anyway, and then.
Sorry.
I end up swapping when people.
Really, you nice guy.
Yes. Yeah. Can't bring myself to say
no. I think maybe that's from running a recording studio. You learn how to say no.
Yeah. Don't want it.
No, just stop that. Put that down. Get off. I think when I was recording the tech and I've done 2 Terminal Cheesecake albums. I did the last one as well. And we went to a studio in Wales, and Gordon had found this electric sitar. And it was like, we were just there to jam for like 2 days solid and then just cut up what we had to kind of make a record. And literally within 5 minutes, Gordon had picked up this electric sitar and I had to take it off in the second day. I was like, you're going to ruin the album. If that is on it, on everything, just like, you can have it on a bit of it, but please give me the electric sitar. Then I felt like I should just like cut the strings off it, put it down somewhere.
There's a time and a place, right?
Exactly. No more electric guitar, please, Gordon. I can tell that whatever you've taken is really making you feel electric guitar, but I can tell you it does not sound as good as you think it does.
God, there's a thing. If you're recording, like when if you play a gig and you've bolted on a few too many of whatever you've bolted on, and you think it's the best thing ever. And then you either get sent a recording of it, or for whatever reason, horrible reason, ends up on YouTube, and you think, I'm going to watch that back. That was awesome. And you watch it back, and it's the worst thing ever.
Last ever Death Pedals gig, totally did that. We didn't play for too long, but what we did was played the set. We were having so much fun, and it was just like, this is the end of this band. We definitely, people are going to a different side of, probably not going to do this again. So like, we knew a Hot Snakes cover. We're like, let's play Plenty for All. We always play that. People love that song. Fucking hadn't played it for like 2 years. We're like, yeah, we'll remember it. About 30 seconds in, just completely ballsed it up. We're like, don't remember it. Last song we ever played. Totally fucked up a Hot Snakes cover. And so then we had to play a song that we'd already played in the set earlier on, because we were like, we're not ending like this. We're gonna play, but that is not the end of this fucking band. We're gonna play a song that we've already played, because we played everything that we knew. So yeah, totally, I feel you. But I don't know. It was a very awkward end to that band.
Bye.
Yeah, fucked it. Can we play a song that like we know how to play, just so we don't end like that, please?
And delete your phones if you've been recording.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. It was really funny.
So this subject, I imagine, is, I don't know, record that people wouldn't think you'd be into.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, I was hoping to have Snoop Dogg here, but unfortunately I didn't. So I chose another one.
Oh, is it
Be the Last Brothers?
Palace Brothers?
Palace Brothers. Yeah. Palace Music, sorry, because one of the many kind of, yeah. I love this album so much. It's such a good Sunday morning record. And I also love like how much this album divides people, because it's kind of out of tune and badly played intentionally. Like I had a mate over kind of who's a bit of a folky kind of singer songwriter, and I was like, oh, I'll put this on, you might like this. And he was like, we turn this off. I hate it. I'm like, I can't stand like what's going on with the music. I was like, I guess maybe that's why I like it. You know what I mean? It's kind of that weird, like not anti-folk. I don't know what I don't know. There's some really just great, beautiful songs on here, but I do love the way that it's just kind of wonky and weird. And I love Albini's production on this. It's a total. I think that's how I found out about this one as well, was reading an interview about Albini and him talking about it being one of his favorite albums he ever recorded.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. And being like, oh, I'll check that out, kind of see what's going on with that one. And so, yeah, I think because I record like heavy music all of the time, I don't listen to much heavy music in the evenings. It's actually been like the best thing about lockdown, weirdly, is not recording all of the time. And actually, like, I bought a new hi-fi for the first time, well, ever. Well, I have had a hi-fi, but I was like, I'm gonna buy myself a really nice, like, old school kind of. So I bought like an old 70s, or I think it was 60s quad kind of amp, and then these old like Swedish kind of Sonab speakers, kind of omnidirectional, super cool kind of 70s throw the sound around the room thing, and like a Thorin's like record deck, just really nice, simple, old school sounding record. Because I was like, I'm listening to music on monitors all the time, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. That's my thing. I want to listen to music in the most different way I can. So I'm going to go for like 70s hi-fi, something real old school sounding, but nice sounding. And it's really kind of reinvigorated me kind of listening to music and listening to records again, because, like, kind of found myself maybe 2 or 3 years ago getting a bit in a rut of like trying to, like, because when a band comes to me, I immerse myself in their world of their music, like I'm sure through these chats you realize, like there's this just like bottomless pit of music, and you live someone's world. Or like when you're recording an album, like, right, what you're listening to, what do you like, what don't you like, and so I run down this hole with them and I discover all of their stuff. But because the next week I'm working on another record, I've forgotten what I'd listened to the previous week, so I discover all of this stuff. I have these weird snippets and listen to it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, that's cool. But then I never listen to it again because I'm moving forwards again, like constantly, and so, yeah, that's been really nice this year to have a bit of like chill time and kind of get back into listening to records. And kind of, yeah, this is one I think I ended up buying this when I was out in LA about 4 or 5 years ago, because I couldn't find it anywhere. I was like out of press, and I was in Amoeba and they had it, so I picked it up there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on Domino? What label is it? I know City. What would it be on over there?
Drag City.
Drag City in America, right? Yeah, I got a feeling Domino did it.
Yeah. It was. I think it was just one of those that was kind of in and out of press. And then when I discovered it, I couldn't. It wasn't on. It was obviously out of publish or something, because it wasn't on Spotify, and there was only like a muddled up playlist on YouTube of it. Because it's like Will Oldham being Will Oldham, and he didn't want any of his music to be streamed. But I couldn't get a record that wasn't really expensive, and it was just one of those. And kind of potter around in a record shop like Amoeba, and you're like, whoa, this place has everything. Pick it up, and then you're like, yeah, it's, good. And that was cool, actually. Like, I've only been to LA once, but Aaron Turner had a shop that was a record shop, I think. I can't remember what it was called when we were there. I'm not sure if he still got it, but yeah, he was kind of running a record shop out in LA, and me and a friend kind of went in there, and he was super nice. Like, I kind of had to go, but my friend Tom ended up going back to Aaron's house because he wanted kind like a Oxbow record or something like that. And he was like, I've got some at home. Come to my house. I'll sell you some from my house. So, you know, like you're talking about kind of people with their fingers on their pulses, you know, Aaron Turner, totally that, you know, took my mate who he didn't know to his house to send him a record.
Aquarius.
Yes. Was that it? Aquarius record? Yeah, I think it was.
I didn't know he worked there. He didn't mention it because I spoke to him. He didn't mention he worked there. He did say that Aquarius is his favorite record shop.
Right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure it was his record shop, or it was something to do with him, whether he was selling a collection through it or what. But at that moment in time, which is probably 4 or 5 years ago, I think there was a record shop that he had something to do with. And then my mate ended up, or maybe I'm getting muddled up with who it was, but there was a link there to Aaron.
I know that. Anyhow, he likes the show.
Yeah.
And I would, if anyone from Amoeba is watching, I really want to go to your record shop. I've never been to LA or San Francisco or anyone else, but goddamn, I want to go to the shop.
Yeah, I really liked LA. I know a lot of people that don't like it, but I had a hoot there. I had a lot of fun, and Amoeba was one of the reasons why I liked it. Because I was like, God damn, this is a big record shop. Yeah.
One day. Definitely
Yeah,
an
man.
ambition of mine. So
yeah, they're like weird avant-garde section was just bigger than most record shops in London. Do you know what I mean? Got everything.
So the last subject I send is regarding the 10-inch record.
10-inch record. Do you know, I was going to my record collection and I couldn't really find, like, I got 2 10-inches. That's it. I don't have many 10 inches, turns out. And so I picked one that it's probably a terrible thing. I think it's one that I've been given. And I'm not even sure I've listened to it. But they're from my friends, Deaf Kids, who we did the Deaf Brick Deaf Kids album with. So I just wanted to give them a plug. This, if you don't know this band, Deaf Kids, this band, if they're given the opportunity, could change heavy music. They're so good what they're doing, man. It's like with punk and the crossover and, you know, like just there's a reason why like Neurosis have taken them on tour with them and stuff like that. These guys just are so good and just totally get it. And again, it's just like from Brazil,
yeah,
you know, have this kind of mad sound. I don't know, like the last album that Neurot released, just the wildest ride, you know, so kind of really just such a wild record. The way it kind of slides from noise into ambient, and then before you know it, they're playing a D beat and they're just like totally like tearing a roof off. But it's not like it doesn't drop like a punk song drops. It slides and it moves, and before you know it, they're doing something really fast and really heavy, and then the next thing you know, they're somewhere else. And it's just done, put together in such a beautiful way. I love their music. So yeah, so this is on 10-inch. I should probably listen to it, but I haven't. And you gave it to me, which is really sweet, Douglas, if you're listening. So I'm really sorry I haven't listened to it, but I'm plugging it. There we go.
Is it on, is that on Neurot? Or...
Yeah, this is Neurot as well.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because like Neurot released the Deaf Brick record out in America for us. And Steve was really cool and sent me a really cool care package. And I'm wondering actually if I got it in that care package, thinking about it now. And I've been kind of digging my way through like the Neurot kind of back catalog that he sent to me. Like I discovered his Harvestman, but that's, you know, it's that kind of beautiful thing about like releasing records with different labels over the world. When they send you some records, again, it's that thing of like going back to Crypto the Wizard, where it's like, I don't know these bands. It's my favorite thing, you know. It's just like, because of my job and stuff like that, it's just great to be handed something like, listen to this, you know. And so yeah, I've been going through that kind of selection of Neurot and found this one called Harvestman. Was listening to it, I was like, oh, this is great. It's so my vibe, kind of weird ambient synthy stuff. And it turns out it's Steve. It's one of his like solo projects, and so that's really cool.
You can't be you can't be expected to keep your finger on the pulse of absolutely everything that's going on. Like there's no shame in not knowing. Like...
No, I know, but I think maybe this guilt comes from you know, like when a band comes to record with me, they're like, oh, so do you know this band? And do you know this band? And do you know this band? I'm like, nope, I don't know that band. I don't know that band. I don't know that band. But then I'm like, oh, you know, let's listen to it. Now it's fine. But, you know, I think that's when you start to kind of be like, oh my God, you know, there's always going to be more music. There's never going to be less. There's always going to be more. You're never going to catch up.
You got it.
Yeah, it's insane. You know, you're just like, this is unreal right now. And so, yeah, you know, that's it. So, yeah, I totally get it. But I do sometimes, I'm like, I feel as though I don't know as much as I should do, you know, like, and I have these really funny, weird, like holes in, like, you know, because I've been in punk bands and stuff like that. People are like, oh, do you know this really seminal punk record? I'm like, nope. Missed that one because I was probably doing techno at the time. So I know this really seminal techno record, you know. Yeah, it's really, yeah, funny, that kind of thing of like having that kind of weird, do you know like Ash, from Charlottesville, drummer Ash?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I remember like being really young in Brighton and meeting him for the first time and kind of being with Chige and kind of sitting with Ash and Ash kind of explaining techno to me. You know, he was like, listen to this techno record.
Own melt.
Yeah, you know, just like listen to this. And, you know, he was like, just the track didn't change. And then there was just like one little kind of moment in the middle of the track. And it just kind of, and that, I think that was a real moment for me of like suddenly understanding kind of techno, you know what I mean? Being like, oh shit, techno's about being patient, you know, it's about, it's a different thing to this guitar music that I'm listening to, and kind of learning a lot from, weirdly, just like that very simple conversation, a moment with Ash kind of explaining techno to me.
Exactly, a slight filter on the sort of hi-hat and the whole song.
Exactly. That was it. I think, you know, it was like that moment, it was such a tiny moment. I remember we were just sitting in Chige's tiny little bedsit with like Ash on the thing, being like, yeah, check this out. This little change, and him being like, oh, I'm fucking blowing your mind. We're like, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
This for me, because like I'm more sort of my knowledge is more with like hip hop sort of stuff, right?
Sure.
And so it's what I was saying earlier about the producer of that stuff, is that my personal sort of love of repetition in music comes from the production of those songs and the subtle changes that you're talking about, where the chorus comes and all they've done is just turn the snare up or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, man, absolutely. It's like, there you go, dynamic, you know. It's like songwriting, it's like so efficient, you know what I mean? It's so good. Yeah, but it's kind of weirdly, it's the opposite to what I do, you know, like my music is quite maximal, like everything, you know, like maybe not quite as much as, I've just been working on some new Gum Takes Two, so I'm like, man, there's so many fucking ideas in this record, like Jesus Christ. But it is like, I'm a big believer when it comes to music, so I understand everything, and then your choice is completely intentional. And yeah, it's great when you stumble across things for accident, but if you understand everything, you can really appreciate how cool that accident is when it happens, and you know, all of that stuff, where it's just like, I want to understand everything, you know, like when I hear, you know, like I think the last thing that sonically really blew my mind was Sophie, when I heard like Face Shopping, and like I'd never heard anything like it. I was like, this is the most insane sounding thing in the world, and then just wanted to understand it immediately, you know, just like, right, let's just sit down and work out kind of, you know, what she's done to kind of get that sound and work it out. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm never going to refine it to the level that you know she was, but it's now in my toolbox, you know, that little kind of understanding of that. And you know, yeah, sure, you know, I can use, you know, I've used some of those ideas on the new Pet Brick record and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how I look at music, is like, I want to understand it, and
that's interesting,
it's part of me. And then you know, so techno and metal and all of that stuff, it's just I just do all of it, filter it into one.
No, that's really awesome. I think that's a good place to stop.
Great, lovely.
Yeah, that's your worldview right there. Understand.
Yeah, that's it. That's me. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's that's totally it. Great.
Thanks a lot.
It's been lovely, mate.
Yeah, go out and buy the Big Lad album. Record.
Do it. Yeah, today's the day, right? It's Thursday.
All day.
Yeah, Thursday today, all day long. I wonder if it's as hot as it's been on this other Thursday or Tuesday or wherever we are now. Maybe.
And record at Bear Bites Horse in London.
Yeah, come and say hi, man. Totally. Anyone, just come and say hello to me if you want to make a noisy record. I'm there.
So let's wave goodbye. We'll say goodbye properly afterwards, but
okay,
I'll stop it whilst we're waving.
Yeah.
Bye.